Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable Podcast. We are here recording episode 177, and today we are going to be talking about online classes or in-person classes and which are right for you. And this could be a language class, but this could be other classes as well. I think this applies to all sorts of different types of learning. So we'll be talking about some of the pros and cons of online classes, our experience with them, and if they might be right for you. So stay tuned if you're curious. Maybe you want to take your own foreign language class and you're thinking about taking an online class. Or maybe you decided, I want to learn something new this year, so I'm going to approach it via an online class or maybe go in person somewhere, and you're not quite sure what you should do. So tune in, kick back, relax, and I'm here with my amazing co-host, my good buddy Jared. What's going on, Jared?
Hello. It's good to see you, Chad. Good to see you, friends. Yes, I'm seeing Chad remotely. No, he does not like me. But you guys can like me. All you have to do is spread a little love. Follow us on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. Follow us on Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1. You can give us 5-star reviews, of course, on iTunes and Stitcher. I love nothing more than to see the growth in our listenership, and I want to see those 5-star reviews too. Speaking of growth in our listenership, shout out to Peru, shout out to India, shout out to Myanmar, shout out to Kazakhstan, shout out to South Africa, shout out to Romania. It's just to name a few, by the way. That's not including our day ones like Russia.
Пожалуйста.
But obviously the U.S. People. Anyway, I just love to see it. I love to see the involvement, and I love to see the involvement on social media too. It's funny. It almost seems like it's harder to get Chad involved than it is to get you guys involved. Chad, and for the listeners too, I guess they don't know this. I am on an endless journey of getting Chad involved in this podcast. If Chad doesn't want to do anything, you bet your ass he won't do it. And we've learned that involves podcasting. We'll see if the travel tips comes back. I'm excited to see. Who knows? We'll see. I can't get Chad. So I thought, you know what? Yeah, I'll do the podcasting stuff. Chad's the ideas. He comes up with great ideas. He shows up every time we're ready to record. There's no problem with that. So I thought, you know what? He's the ideas guy. Let's get him involved. Let's get some idea flowing. So I thought, what can we do now that Chad is back
in Michigan? Do you have in mind, Jared?
Traveling's kind of tough. Chad wants to go to Nashville, but who knows? We'll see if that happens. Chad, we found out, doesn't know how to ride a bicycle. Doesn't know how to find a bicycle bigger than a BMX bicycle. He has friends all around him, but none of them have bicycles.
Maybe I want to pop some Leelys on my BMX bike, Jared.
Physical activity is too much for Chad, too. I get it now. So I thought, Chad likes to read.
I do like to read.
And I thought, I like the idea of reading. I never really do it. I read a lot of articles, but I'm not good at sitting down and reading books. I have the attention span of a goldfish. So I thought, maybe I can get Chad to read a book. You don't have to buy the book. You check your mailbox. The book arrives in paperback or on your Kindle if you prefer that way. I'll be your book sugar daddy. But can I interest you in reading some books? You don't even have to choose the books. I have a personally curated book list for you. Well, I have 2 books more that I have 2 books on the top of my head more that I want to add to the list.
I'm
that I think will be interesting for you, but then more importantly, interesting fodder for us.
Okay. What do you have in mind?
So I thought we could start with something fun and popular. Eat, Pray, Love.
I've never read it before.
For you. Of course you haven't. Why would you read that book? But no, I thought I was just thinking about a different book.
Why did that come to your mind? Out of all the books you can think of, Eat, Pray, Love.
That did not come to my mind first. I was thinking about a book called Vagabonding by a guy named Rolf Potts.
And I've heard already.
Him. He's a traveler and he's a writer, and I've heard him on other podcasts. And I've heard of that book, and it just came to my head the other day. but I've never read it, and it's never really crossed my mind to read it. But I think it's a very interesting. But I love the guy. I love listening to him on the podcast. I've heard him.
Okay.
And so I'm interested in that book. It's about travel and like freeing
cool.
yourself, essentially.
Okay.
And then I thought, what are sort of other travel related stories? And I thought Eat, Pray, Love just came to my head because it's very popular in was a couple years ago with the Julia Roberts movie. So I thought maybe I can get Chad to read a book. Whatever way you like to read your books the most, whether it be paper book or on your e-forms, don't worry about it. Daddy's got you. They'll show up.
Really? Okay.
On your doorstep or on your device. Because I know how hard it is to get you to do anything. So honestly, you know what? I'll get it delivered to my house and I'll drive it to your house. Because if it gets delivered to your doorstep, who knows what will happen to it? It might stay there for the next 6 months. You're like, oh, that's where they deliver stuff. Interesting.
Thankfully, I've got the delivery system down pat, Jared. I've had a few things shipped to me from Amazon already since I've been home.
Okay.
Some guitar stuff.
Have you started playing guitar? So can I get you to read books? Can I get you to
Heck yeah.
And then every now and again,
my book sugar daddy? I'm down for that 100%. Yeah.
Every now and again, say maybe, you're a pretty good reader. I don't know, once a month, once every 2 months, nothing crazy. We'll talk about that book.
I tell you what, Jared, since you were giving me so much shit about Chad. Not doing anything.
Easy. I know where you're going with this.
Tell you what, you get me a paperback cover of whatever book you want. I will take a selfie with that book and post it on our Instagram.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Big,
that's actually
big
not
commitment
right
here, Jared. Big commitment.
Chad will post a picture on Instagram, everyone. Not only will he read a book, he'll post a picture on Instagram. This is the kind of stuff I love.
That's
it sounds like I'm making fun of you right now, but this is so exciting. This is so exciting. I'm proud of you, and I'm excited to see where this goes. Yeah, these are. I've always wanted to read Vagabonding. So I
vote for Vagabond.
We can start with that. Eat, Pray, Love just came to my head because it's popular.
I have a better idea. What if we both read the book? You say you don't like reading. What if you gave it a try?
It's so funny, Chad. I feel like you have no idea what I do outside of this podcast. Not only do I have a full-time job, but I also edit
have a
2 podcasts a week.
Wait, true.
Yeah. Live with someone else. Yep. Do all the behind the scenes not just edit the pod, all the behind the scenes to get it uploaded. Make sure we have a nice little picture on our YouTube thumbnail. Make sure our WordPress looks nice every time a new one comes out.
You do great work, by the way. Great work.
Now I got to read a book too.
All right, fine. I'll read the book and I'll give you the spark notes. How about that? The cliff notes.
Okay, I'll get the book for myself. There's no way I can guarantee that I'll be able to read that book. Well, that's not true. You know what? I'll read the book. I
mean, 5-10 minutes before.
No.
5-10 minutes before bed every night.
I just heard myself talk right there, and it just gave me a flashback to every time I asked for anything, and you being like, "I don't know how to do that. That's not possible. I can't do that. And I don't want to. I cannot. I'm trying to work that out of you right now, and I can't revert to that exact same thing.
Are you turning into me, Jared?
Is that what's happening? So here's the deal. We're going to be recording 2 episodes. You love this.
I do.
We're going to be recording 2 episodes together probably this weekend. I have Amazon Prime. I can guarantee these books will get to my house before we see each other. So I'll bring you your book in person.
Ooh, I'm excited. I am excited. Very nice.
And I would also the thing was, I also kind of wanted to give us like a sort of a deadline so we're not reading it. So we need to, I'd say, I can read a book in a month. Give me a month.
Oh, yeah, I think a month's definitely doable. For sure.
Yeah, for you. Anyway, I'm excited. I used to read like crazy back in college. Senior year specifically, I would always be reading something, and I would just blast through books. That's when I read Where the Red Fern Grows, by the way. That's a very sad book if you didn't know. But I'm glad. I'm happy to get back into it. So I'm excited for this too. And I like to be challenged too. You know, if I'm going to throw out challenges, I have to be willing to take them too. That, people, is what is called growth.
True. Very true. And Jared,
Would you like to...
the last thing I'll say is that I think if you just allocate a few minutes before bed every night, one, if it's a good book,
Yeah.
you're probably going to be reading longer than that time anyway, so you'll read more pages.
That's true.
Even if you're not super into the book, if you discipline yourself to stick to a certain time period at night, eventually you'll read the book. Because that's what I did in high school, and I read quite a few books I was not a fan of.
Yeah. And to be fair, I do listen to a lot of podcasts, so I do have time to cut, like, that I can cut out. It's just time that I maybe don't want to cut out.
Sure.
And then also, to be fair, the more episodes we do in person, maybe this will also convince you to do episodes in person. The more we do in person, those take no time to edit. So gives me, and the more we do like this, take way more time to edit. So the more we do in person, also, now that you're home, and I once again, I would never ask you to come here. The more, that's ridiculous. But I'll obviously come to you. And the more that happens, it'll be easier to read this book. I'm looking forward to this, and I can do it.
Me too.
I'll make
I know
the
you
time.
can. It'll be fun. I'm looking
Spread
forward
a
to
little
it.
love. Let's spread a little love, Chad.
It is that time, Jared. I've got 2 shout-outs today. My first shout-out goes out to all of the people in Italy, Iran. I think those are the 2 that are the biggest hit right now with new cases of the coronavirus. Hopefully, by the time this episode drops, things have gotten better in all of these countries. Sending lots of love to the families affected, the medical workers, everybody involved, and wish everyone a healthy and swift recovery. My second shout out, though, Jared, this is kind of an interesting one, comes from Hong Kong. The Hong Kong government today said that they will give 10,000 Hong Kong dollars, which is about 1,280 US dollars, to 7 million permanent residents in a bid to jumpstart a recession-hit economy now compounded by the coronavirus outbreak.
Interesting.
So they are going to give people basically $1,200, $1,300.
Everyone?
I think the 7 million permanent residents of Hong Kong. So I'm not sure what and I didn't say in the article what the what the parameters were, if you were, how you qualify to be one of those people.
Right. But that's not nothing. I mean,
no, it's definitely not.
And it seems like it's fair to say that there was some level of mishandling involved during the coronavirus beginning of the outbreak when it started in China. It seems like at least when you were living in China, you didn't say this, but it seemed like you alluded to the fact that, and I read some of this, that maybe it was, they didn't talk about it soon enough, they didn't take the proper precautions, all that stuff. So it seems like some people deserve something, is essentially what I'm getting at.
Well, there's a lot of people in mainland then, if we go by that.
More than that.
Yeah,
sure.
But you're
obviously.
right. You're right.
I'm just saying I'm glad something's happening.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I'm not sure, we don't know yet. That's the big thing with this whole the whole virus is we don't know how long it's going to take. We really don't know. So, but I do think this is an interesting measure in Hong Kong to kind of help this situation. So I think it's kind of interesting. So good on them. So shout out to Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, shout out. I didn't. You betcha. I was about to go yes, but that didn't seem appropriate. Let's get into these untranslatables. Why don't we?
Mind if I start us off today, Jared?
Please, Chad. Please.
Alrighty. This one is a language called Kilivila, which is an Austronesian language used in the Trobriand Islands of Papua New Guinea. And of course. The word...
I mean, you didn't have to add that part. We all knew that, but thank you.
Of course, right. Just for clarity. And the word is Mokita.
Mokita.
So, for example, Jared, maybe we do a joint pod episode. Well, do you have a guess? Mokita?
That's the literal translation?
Well, there's no literal translation here, but I can give
I got you.
an example. So here is the example.
Okay.
So say we do a joint podcast with Don sometime in the near future, and he has all these fancy new podcasts and bells and whistles, and I say to you, I'd love to find out where or how Don got his new pod stuff, but I probably shouldn't ask. It's a Mokita.
Oh, like a secret?
I think the closest English untranslatable has to do with a very large animal with a trunk and tusks.
Obviously elephant is what you're talking about, but
Yep. What phrase do we have with elephant, Jared?
I don't know. What is it? I don't know. I'm going to know when I hear it.
It's in a place.
I have no idea.
Elephant
No
in...
idea. Nope. Mm-mm.
Really?
Elephant in the coal mine? Is that what it is?
Oh, that might be a new drop right there. Elephant in the coal mine. Elephant in the room. Elephant in the room.
Okay.
That's what
Elephant
that
in
one
the
means.
room. When I hear elephant in the room, I think like we all know something about someone in the room, but nobody wants to bring it up.
Exactly. Maybe that was a
Okay.
terrible example, but yeah.
The way you made it seem like was like why wasn't he like? But why wouldn't he bring up all this? By the way, just so you know, chat, you and Don are very similar in the sense that don't expect any bells and whistles from Don, just because he's been doing a podcast now. I guess I got thrown off because when I heard yours, I thought I don't know, because it's like, why wouldn't he tell us then? It doesn't matter. Right. I understand what you're saying, though. It's like the elephant in the room is like, oh, everyone, like Don has, we all know Don has just got genital herpes. But no one's saying anything, you know? Chad's like, but yeah, I don't know. My first one is Welsh, and it is Dao Gachiad. Obviously, I have no idea how to say that, and that was probably terribly wrong. But it literally means two shits.
Two shits. Mm-hmm. Two shits.
Obviously, I can give you a
give me a clue
if you would like, because that could go a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. Give me a clue, Jared.
So you want me to also read a book with you, vagabonding, and I told you, if we meet in person, editing the pod will be two shits.
Oh, piece of cake, easy.
We also have it's a little different than that, but yes,
Okay.
but we also have a English untranslatable that is a little bit more fitting, that involves a lamb. You might not know this.
Is it a lamb's what? It's a lamb's something?
Well, there's more to it than that.
What is it? I'm not sure.
Two shakes of the lamb's tail.
I've never heard that one before.
I figured you would. It's kind of weird, but it essentially just means like, you know, in like it takes 1 sec, you know?
Okay.
Give me two shakes of a lamb's tail and I'll get that to you.
Speaking of animals, Jared, my next untranslatable is Japanese, and it is Kitsune ni tumameru. I think that's how you say it. Kitsune ni tumameru, which means tricked by a fox. Kitsune is fox. I do know that.
Tricked by a fox? Mm-hmm. Is like someone just tricked you by like some sneaky, like slimy sort of like
when would you say
person.
when would you say you've been tricked by a fox, Jared?
Maybe if someone stole your identity.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give it to you. It basically just means something when something unexpected or confusing happens.
My next guess was going to be an Anthony Jeselnik joke, where like you always think it's going one way, then at the last minute it just like flips. You know, it's like, oh, okay, did not see that going there. That's terrible.
Right.
Terrible / hilarious. We're really keeping on the animal theme today because my next one's Dutch, and it also involves an animal. In Bruges, Bruges ap verhaal. A monkey sandwich story. A monkey sandwich story. Think of it like a monkey sandwich. That's the kind of sandwich story.
Yeah. So is this like a story that's not very well put together? Or like when someone just keeps talking and talking and talking?
Let me tell you a monkey sandwich story. Word is the Sasquatch lives in Washington. Word is the Sasquatch is known to get very angry if you try to make fun of it. Word is the Sasquatch.
When you keep repeating something.
No. What? No, that's just that's me being a bad storyteller. No, I think here. Word is the Loch Ness Monster only comes out the third Wednesday of every month.
When you talk
Word
about...
is witches don't like to be
When you talk about
talked
stuff
down
that's
to.
not real.
Yeah, what do you call that?
Telling a lie.
No, it's an urban legend.
Oh,
I'm telling you urban legends about things.
Urban legends, gotcha. Okay. Well, Jared, this next untranslatable could be an urban legend itself. This one is French, and it is L'appel du vide, which means...
well, that's called life.
Call of the void.
That's the name is life or something.
Call of the void.
Oh, that's void. I thought vide would be life or something. I got call right.
C'est la vie. Vie is life. C'est la vie.
Oh, vide.
Yeah, vide.
V. Okay.
Probably didn't say it right
The
either.
call of the void.
Call of the void.
Does that mean it? Does that mean my initial? See, I'll say it, but this is not good. My initial thought was like, does that mean you're suicidal or something?
Well, buddy, it's interesting you say that. The call of the void is
Or depressed?
It's basically a feeling you have this instinctive urge to jump off of something high. Have you ever had that urge before? Where you're up really high?
Oh, all the time.
And you're like, I wonder what happened if... Obviously, the answer is I'd probably die. But yeah, I get that too. Like the call of the void.
I don't...
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. I usually I don't think about it for myself. Usually I think, what would happen if one would fall off of this?
Either way, I think the void's calling you. And I think that leads into very smoothly online or in-person classes, Jared, because I can tell you, as an online teacher, sometimes you feel like you are staring into the void. Whether or not the void calls you is another story. But let's talk about online or in-person classes. And to get us started today, I'm just curious, Jared, have you ever actually taken any online classes before?
Yes. I think the answer has to be yes, but I would say not really if I was really being honest. I've done Duolingo for a bit, but I did it not long. I did it while my German was well above that level.
Okay.
So I didn't do it for long, only because I'm like, I'm not learning anything. Everything I'm doing right now, I know like instinctively. You know,
got those
like
very aggressive owl emails as well, right?
Yeah. You had to
Harassed by the owl.
unsubscribe like 14 times.
Right.
Yeah, like it was stuff where it was like asking me how to conjugate habe, and it's like I've known how to do this since like the first month I was in Germany.
Maybe it was a while ago when you took this test, but now
there's different levels.
Now
obviously.
you can test out of certain levels.
Yeah,
I'd be curious to see.
I haven't tried in a long time, to be honest with you.
I would love to see where our German levels would be at according to Duolingo. That'd be an interesting thing to look into.
Do you want to do that for next episode too? Embarrass me, and it'll be perfect because we'll be in person, so I get to just embarrass myself.
Sure, I'd love to embarrass you. That'd be great.
All right, do it. So do the. I mean, worst case scenario, even if we forget, we can just do it right before we record, since we'll be in person.
Right.
But yeah, well, let's try to plan to do that beforehand.
Now, when I was thinking of this episode, Jared, I don't know if. See, that's the other tricky thing is I don't know what I would consider an online class, because Duolingo, I would say, is a language learning app. I'm not sure if I would call it an online class. Would you?
Oh, interesting. So are you saying that for it to be a class, it needs to have more of a interactive, both two sides interacting
I would
aspect?
say so. Mm-hmm.
More of a live aspect on the other side?
Right. Maybe, but maybe that's an old-fashioned view of teaching, and maybe I shouldn't think that.
I'd be interested to see how Duolingo would define themselves.
That's a good question.
Because I feel like they would. I feel like because they call. I feel like they would call their program, like their little things that you do, a class. You know, so
Sure.
like if you're at a certain level, they'd be like, all right, a lesson. Yes,
Yeah,
I guess,
yeah.
which is I guess is the same thing. Learning with they don't say. Okay, I just was hoping on their site I could just quickly find like Duolingo is a blah 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 blah. Oh, about us, I could do that. Mission. Personalized education. Everyone learns in different ways for the first. I think they see it that way, and I think at least in my head, Duolingo, Babbel, same kind of thing. I think in my head, what their statement is that this is the new like. They're not saying this has to replace teachers or anything, but I feel like they market it as just as good as being in a classroom. Obviously, they kind of have to. It's marketing,
right.
You know. They're gonna, but like,
Sure.
I feel like that's sort of what they're trying. Like they believe that. I feel like they believe it too.
Well,
like this can be a replacement.
It's funny you say that, Jared, because I was actually a part of a research group at Michigan State University for a semester.
Interesting. Ooh.
Oh shoot, that wasn't for Duolingo. That was for Babbel. But Babbel's
Same concept, though.
Babbel's claim was that if you studied Spanish for 10 minutes a day for 10 weeks, that would be the equivalent of I think it was like 2 semesters of college Spanish. So the way that they compare these two things is that they say, okay, what is the proficiency level when you finish your second semester of Spanish, right? Your Spanish 102, right? And in theory, you should be at, I believe, a novice mid, maybe a novice high, which would be still like a beginner, but a middle level beginner or upper level beginner. When I did the study, I took a placement test before I did the Babbel study, and then obviously after. And my Spanish went from novice low, and I bumped up 2 notches to novice high. So
Okay.
I will say this though, Jared. I think I cheated a little bit. Maybe not cheated, but I was watching a lot of telenovelas,
That's not cheating.
Narcos. But see, that's additional Spanish outside of using the Babbel website. So there's extra exposure there.
Yes, but classic improv technique of yes, but. Yes, but. Yes, but I would argue that no matter how you're learning, whether it be in class, online, you'd be a fool not to be incorporating other media in there from outside sources.
True.
So you're maybe if you're trying to get a baseline to tell which one is better, you won't be able to really tell because you didn't properly baseline yourself like you're doing a science experiment. But I would say, who cares? Because whether you're learning in the classroom or online, the more you watch and listen to will only help you.
Correct.
Regardless of how you learn.
Correct. And that's kind of why I was doing it, and I was really determined. I really wanted to get to novice high. I was like, I want to see if I can do this in 10 weeks.
I want to get back to what you were saying before, though. You were saying that 10 minutes a day for 10 weeks is about the same level of 10 minutes a day for 10 weeks of online learning on Babbel is equivalent to two semesters of college
Spanish.
College Spanish or whatever language. Does that equate to any language?
That's the tricky thing.
Or is their Spanish more refined? Because
I don't know exactly. I don't know if you can make those claims. It also really depends on. I think for that study, they only allowed native English speakers to take part in the study. So it's probably also has to do with your native language as well. English and Spanish do have some similarities. I don't think it's as much as English and German or English and Dutch, but still, there's still a lot of similarities there.
Now, I have no problem. My point was, and the whole point, I still haven't gotten to it yet. My point was that I would believe that using the 10 minutes, 10 weeks of online learning, you could definitely be a better speaker.
Oh, for sure.
Than someone that took 2 semesters of in-college Spanish. I would wonder, though...
I'd agree with that.
My question would be, though, do those people that took the online course have as good of an understanding of the language as the people that took the classroom learning?
That's a great question.
Because we know classroom learning, especially in the U.S., and if anything, they teach you grammar and they teach you why sentences are the way they're supposed to be, even if you don't have the vocabulary to put any sentences together. In theory, you should have learned how to put together a sentence. Now, I feel like if you're learning it through an online thing, the focus is way more on speaking, and so I bet you'd be a better speaker. But do you have that?
Well, it all depends on the platform itself, too, though. So, for example, like things like Duolingo, I was doing Chinese on Duolingo while I was still in China, but a lot of times I would be doing it while I was like in public. And so I didn't want to speak into my phone in public. I just wanted to listen, and I was really doing it so I could read the characters. And so I wouldn't really say that improved my speaking a ton. Now, I will say with Babbel, there were... The way that they have it set up, it's similar but different to Duolingo, but you do have to speak a decent amount and listen a little bit too. But the nice thing is you do all of that after you've already learned the vocabulary. So I still remember, I don't remember all the vocab, but I still remember the process. The process was matching pictures and stuff like that first, then reading sentences and matching the picture and the word in the sentence so like a fill in the blank. And it kind of went on and on like this until it got to the point where it was having us speak sentences and listen to sentences.
Okay.
But yeah, depends on the goal of the class. Do you think knowing yourself, Jared, if you were to take an online class, say you had more free time, you had a podcast partner who was way more motivated than I am or just better in general...
it's not even a motivation thing. I respect you know what you want to do, and you do that. And if you don't want to do it, then you don't do it. I wish I was better at saying no than you. Better at saying no. So
it's taking some time. It wasn't always like this. Let me tell you, it's taking some time. But do you think that you would thrive in an online class, Jared, or take a little nosedive?
I think I would stay consistent. I don't think like if I were learning a language that, for example, if I was working on German, I don't think I'd get better. I don't think I'd get worse. I think it would be but it would be good for me to stay where I'm at. So like say when I first got back from Austria, if I had kept doing it, I feel like it would be hard for me to see any noticeable difference, especially since after Austria, I was already at a pretty good place. But I definitely think it would help me keep that level. The thing is, though, I feel like I'm not good at staying focused if without something forcing me to stay focused. So like it would be easy for me to find excuses to not do it if I was doing it online. Now maybe I'd be more motivated if I needed to do it, like you're starting a job in this country and you know, like you're going to Korea soon. So like so like if I were in your position, I would be like, all right, I'm a little more motivated to learn this. I'll do it. But that's like a 6-month thing. That's because I know I'm going somewhere. If I just want to learn Spanish, for example, like I said I wanted to, I don't think I'd be able to do it.
Right.
I think I would need the commitment of going somewhere or to someone or knowing someone's coming to me or something like that. Now, maybe it would help. I looked through a list of some of the best language learning apps and software online, and it gave me an idea of when I was looking through it, and it didn't even cross my mind until I pulled up this list earlier, was that maybe if I was investing in a app or website or something that I paid for, it might help a little bit. Maybe just having some sort of incentive, some sort of negative incentive to get me to do it. might help.
I want to say, Jared, I think that's a great idea. But if you look at how many people have a gym membership and never go to the gym, I agree with you. And I think you would probably be able to hunker down and stay disciplined and do it. But I think there are a lot of people that wouldn't. I think the big difference,
you do make a good point, though, because none of these apps, even though there are a bunch of paid for, none of them are terribly expensive, So it'd be very easy for that to get lost in your all your automated
or whatever.
payments or whatever you have. Yeah,
true.
What were you about to say?
True.
I'm sorry.
You're good. I think the big separation between online and in-person classes is the idea of community, because there's just this different vibe when you're in a room with a bunch of other people. You get to know your classmates. You have fun. In an ideal class where the teacher is a good teacher. Whereas online classes, it can feel kind of isolating.
It's weird talking into a screen too.
Yep.
Very unnatural.
And I will tell you, Jared, I meant to mention this when we first started talking about the main segment, but the whole reason why this came to mind is I have been applying like a madman to all sorts of different online English teaching companies to find some work until September, when I hopefully end up going to
Singapore,
to Laos.
Can't wait.
But yeah, so anyways, the whole thing I've been thinking about though is like what is the main difference between an in-person class and an online class? And I think that an online class, you have to have a bit more self-control and self-discipline. I could be wrong about this, but at least when I think of myself as a student, I think I'm the same as you. If I have a place to go, I'm going to go there. I'm probably going to enjoy it. If I have to go to an online class where I'm already at home, when I can play one of my guitars or turn on my PlayStation or, do something else, I may do that,
Dude, I can't tell you how many times when I was in Philly taking piano lessons, I would go straight from work to piano lessons on Wednesdays, and I'd just be at work just like, I gotta go to piano lessons after this, I just want to go home, and I'd be driving there like, this is so dumb. And then whether it was a good lesson or not, because I had plenty of lessons where I left like that didn't go well, plenty of lessons I left where I was like, I felt like I did it, Either way,
that's a great feeling, isn't it?
I left feeling like that. I'm glad that happened, Like that was always the feeling, even if I was like that wasn't great. But I still felt like that needed to happen. It's like working out, Even if you like after you dread doing it up until you do it.
Right, and I think the thing with online classes is that people need to see the same kind of value in online classes as they do in-person classes, because this is still a fairly new way to learn and to teach. I think it's going to take a while until people really see the benefit and potential for online learning. But I think it is different. And I think that I don't think online learning will ever completely replace in-person classes. Even if there's good internet connection all over the world, I still think there's something to gain from going somewhere, shaking people's hands. Maybe right now with the coronavirus spreading, maybe you want to give them a fist bump instead. But either way, I think it's really important to get a mixture of both and see what works for you.
So, Chad, I agree with you. I have two things I want to do here. First, I want to go through a list of some of the top language learning apps I was talking about. And just tell you a little bit about them, ask if you've heard of them. But then I have something specific question I want to ask you, which I will not forget. Don't you worry.
Okay,
have you heard of
not.
Have you heard of the Humble Bundle?
Nope.
If you're a traveler on a budget, then this Humble Bundle is for you. Here's how it works. You just name your own price that's higher than the suggested retail price. If a language or guidebook asks for $1 or more, you can just ask for $1 or more, You can just pay $1 for the item. Humble Bundle has packages for international travel, including Spanish language learning, subscription, 3-month access, and French language learning subscription, 1-year access, while it also offers full color guidebooks from Lonely Planet, so you know all the ins and outs of traveling to a city like Barcelona, Beijing, Rome, and more. There are multiple packages available starting as low as $1, but not exceeding $25 for more languages. Longer access to subscriptions and countries. Well, so this is essentially, I mean, sounds like a great idea. The good things is it's very cheap. It's great for travelers. It gives you because it gives you the language, and it also gives you guidebooks to these languages and places that you're going.
Right.
And the bad news is it's not really great for unpopular languages. It's really mostly for Spanish, French, German, Italian, English, Chinese, Japanese, Korean. Really, you could say the most popular languages in the world.
Right. Sure.
Not including Russian, I guess.
Unfortunately.
Because that's where you're going, we all know. Duolingo is one of the most popular language learning apps, of course. We've talked about Duolingo. We don't really need to go more into that.
I love Duolingo. Even the passive-aggressive bird once in a while, the owl.
The good thing about Duolingo is that it's very popular. It works on a bunch of different platforms. It has a lot of languages because of how big it is. Problem is, it's ad-supported. Yeah. But the thing about it being ad-supported is it's also free.
True.
Babbel can be free, but then there are also subscription services, 3-month subscriptions.
I will say this. I think Babbel is worth a subscription. We are not in any way sponsored or affiliated by Babbel, but Babbel, let us know if you want to sponsor us.
Hit us
up. I thought they were great. I really loved Babbel, and I wonder if Babbel, if they have, I'll have to look after the pod, if they have the new language I'm hoping to learn.
And here's the thing. If anyone is serious about learning a language, not just, some people are interested in learning a language and serious about it. Some people are serious about it because they might be moving to a new country in however many months. Right. And if you're that kind of serious for it, or not, but especially if you're that kind of serious for it, where it's like, no, I need this in a certain amount of time, invest the money. Don't just go for the cheap free version. Invest the money, especially since you're most likely only going to be using it for the months leading up to it, and maybe the first month or two you get there. Maybe once you get to the place, there are way better options than sticking to an online thing,
Right.
Have you heard of Udemy?
I have.
How do you say that? Udemy or Udemy?
Udemy?
Do you know which one?
I think.
Udemy. So it's $11.99, and it's on iOS and Android. And it offers a very wide range of topics and languages and instructors, apparently, which we'll get to in a sec. But it's expensive. It's $11.99 per month, I believe. $11.99 per year. It's weird that they consider that expensive, but it can go all the way up to $199 per year, so it can get very expensive. And there are some other ones. Rosetta Stone is a very popular one, also paid for. It's very big in the game.
I think Rosetta Stone was one of the first big ones.
Well, according to Mashable, the site I'm looking at, they call it the gold standard of online language learning. So it really is. I remember my dad, forget the gold standard of online language learning. I remember when we moved to Germany, my dad had a 12-pack CD that he kept in the back seat of his car. And he had an hour drive to and from work, and he would just play that CD in the car. So,
nice.
Even before they were doing online, they are definitely the gold standard in the sense that they've been around before the internet. And they have a long, long list of languages. So, any language that has, any sort of popularity is going to be on that list. Any sort of big national language is going to be on that list. So we talked a lot about websites like Babbel and Duolingo, where you're interacting essentially with a computer. The computer is a software that you're essentially playing a game. A language learning game, and you're not communicating with anyone. It's just you put in the wrong answer, it tells you put in the wrong answer. You put in the right answer, it says, yes, right answer.
Right.
But is another level to online learning, one that does involve interacting with a real human person, right? Is there not a way where through Skype or through like some sort of like something like that where you can like what about the VipKid?
Okay, so yes, it's different. I've taught some online. I was an online German teacher for a while.
Well, I know it's different.
Online.
That's why I'm asking you about it because I know nothing about it.
Right. It's I think the thing that just makes it different is that you're just the fact that you're behind this screen. It just adds a whole different kind of atmosphere to it. It's really fascinating how, like people are. And Jared could definitely call me out on this, especially back in the early days of our podcast, where if you're on the screen talking to someone, it's easy to get distracted or lose focus. Whereas there's something
in the early days. What about 2 or 3 episodes ago?
Anyways,
I'm not.
Anyways, there's just a different,
I know exactly what you're talking.
Kind of barrier, I think, with online teaching, and there just isn't the kind of community that you have. You can't do the same things.
When we're in person recording an episode together, it's almost unthinkable for one of us to just start pick up our phone.
Right?
It just wouldn't happen. Right. But it's so easy to do this here, where there's sort of this shield protection,
right?
Thing. And that's part of
what's Jared gonna do? Is he gonna drive to my house and take my phone? What's he gonna do?
I mean, now that you're back in Michigan, don't put it past me.
You do know where I live. That's true. That is true.
I could be there in 45 minutes. So you've done that before on the teaching side?
Yes. Yeah, I've in terms of online classes, I asked you this in the beginning, but I never answered myself. Is that I've never really taken online classes, but I have taken like online, trainings and things like that. I think I would prefer taking an online class over like a training, just because the online classes that I used to teach, the students would write to each other, and some of them would even, if they were living on campus at the time, they would even meet up occasionally and do work together.
Right.
And I have to say, being an online teacher, you have to try to develop a sense of community.
So they're still classmates, though, so that helps.
Yes, and I think that's a big thing.
Because like one-on-one would be, I guess, even more removed than what you're doing.
Yes and no. I think
because they have no one to talk to, is what I'm saying. Outside of you, like they have no one to meet with after and talk about it.
Right. Unless that is the deal you have with your tutor and tutee, is that you talk regularly, you communicate frequently. It all depends, I was doing some English lessons online for a company, and I would message and email the guy that I was tutoring pretty often. Because I also knew that I was one of the few people he was able to communicate with in English. I didn't get paid extra for that. It wasn't in my contract to do that, but he was a nice guy and he asked interesting questions. And so, we had a little email dialogue going on, and then would also talk during our tutoring sessions. So it really depends and varies. There's a lot of different platforms out there too, where like one of them that I've recently applied to is called Cambly. And Cambly is basically more of an informal, you just chat with people for an hour. And so, but I think that's also a good way you can learn.
Have you considered chat roulette?
I have not. Okay. For various
it's a great
reasons.
Way to chat with people.
But yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I love that.
Might see some unsavory things, roulette. But yeah. Oh, that's a good episode. That is a funny one. Yeah. Yeah. But anyways, I think online classes are great if you have a very kind of rigid schedule and it's hard to make in-person classes. I think I can tell you from a teaching standpoint and a student standpoint, one of the best, or sometimes maybe worst, you could say, situations is the fact that you are in the comfort of your own home. So you can be wearing your hoodie and your pajama pants, getting all comfy. But for me, I will tell you, Jared, I would not feel like I was learning. I know that may sound stupid and far-fetched, but if I was in my pajamas, like sitting in a class, I feel like I wouldn't be able to concentrate. Like I'd have to put on some like normal clothes that I would wear going to an in-person class. But maybe I'm just weird.
No, I understand that. I have some final, just quick pros and cons of
Perfect.
both. Technology can be annoying to deal with, and what I mean is there are certain software apps, whatever, where you can talk to it. That's not perfect, and that can be annoying. So if you're trying to, and also with that, you can't fully handle the accent part of it. However, people can be annoying too, and just because there's also the chance that you might not even like your teacher, which can make learning very difficult. I've been in situations as a student where my learning has suffered, not because the teacher was bad, but because the teacher and I didn't get along. Honestly, it had nothing to do with whether the teacher was good or not. It had way more to do with my relationship with the teacher. So I would say there's a pro and a con on both sides of that. Also, I'll say this: with the online learning, it's easier to incorporate the multimedia aspects. So it's easier to throw in a video. It's easier to have someone listen to some audio clip or something like that, rather than having to, either have it pull up your computer in a class or have it already recorded or saved somewhere and then pull that open, then have speakers. So I'd say it's easier to have different sort of ways of learning incorporated into your learning online.
I'd agree.
So there's just a few that just came to my head when I was thinking about this before we started. So, I think it's really more comes down to just know thyself, know how you learn, and if you're going to if you're serious about learning, whether it's because you need it for an actual impending move or whatever, or if you just really want to learn something, then actually make the investment, because none of these online language learning apps are that expensive. And one, paying for it means that the product's probably going to be a little better. And two, paying for it means you have just a little bit more incentive to show up and actually do it.
I would agree. Another big pro of online learning, Jared, is the fact that, well, you could look at it as a pro or a con, I guess, again, but the fact that it's asynchronous. You can kind of do things at your own pace. You can watch videos over and over again if you need to, things like this. And my German cuckoo clock agrees with me as well.
I can't believe we're still dealing with this clock. I find it hilarious. It's actually closer to being on time. Still not on time, though.
Nope, still not on time.
But before, it used to be like 40-something that it would go off.
Fun fact, though, Jared, this cuckoo clock has had the same battery since my parents bought it in Germany in 2006.
So the fact
14 years.
So the fact that it does a terrible job at keeping time is not surprising, but the fact that it's even still going is...
It's pretty impressive.
Shocking.
Pretty impressive. But anyways, back to online classes. I think if you are an introvert, I think online classes can also be a really good thing for you. If you are a very social person and you need that social face-to-face in-person interaction, I would say that online classes might leave you a little disappointed and feeling like, I don't know, I think for some people, I think they think that in order for them to learn, they need to work with other people, which I think is very true in a lot of ways.
It doesn't hurt.
If you're looking for that, you may not be able to necessarily find that with online classes, depending on the type of class. But if you're curious more about online teaching, what it's like, maybe we could do another episode later on at some point, Jared, what it's like to be a teacher, teaching online classes a bit more in depth. Because I think today we've only scratched the surface.
Sure.
Speaking of scratching the surface, though, Jared, as an English speaker and a German speaker, I get bits and pieces of Dutch, and we have a Dutch song today.
I think
the artist is Maan.
I think we know what the title of the song is without looking it up.
Right. So the artist's name is Maan, Maan, and it is a woman, a female, and the title is Vergeet je niet. I probably said that wrong, but
probably.
And what do you think it means?
Niet is how I'd say it.
Right.
I don't know. The niet sounded kind of Russian when I said it.
It did, yeah. Mine did
My
too.
guess, as an English and kind of German speaker, would be that means "forget me not." or forget I not is how I would actually.
I would agree with that one. I would agree with that. Yeah.
That's how, and I imagine that probably is what it means.
Right.
She has a very I don't know who, Kelly Clarkson maybe, or Jennifer Hudson. Okay. That's sort of like, she has a very like pop singer sound to her. Not pop like Sexy Frau, that not previous pop, song of the pod. Like she's a singer. She sounds like she has actual talent.
Oh yeah, she's got
not
pipes.
Relying on pop and computers and asses.
Right.
Like she's actually a singer, clearly, but it
she
does
sounds like she's very talented,
like a pop singer. Yeah. I'll say this: how do you feel about Dutch being used as Dutch as a being used? She's just talking. How do you feel like Dutch as a language for a love song or a sad song?
You know, it's interesting. I'm not going to lie to you, Jared, and I hope I don't offend our listeners in the Netherlands here by saying this, but the first 2 times I listened to it, I chuckled a little bit just because of the sound in Dutch. Vergeet, it's...
Yeah.
I don't know, but after listening to it and kind of getting over my initial bias of Dutch, I think it sounds nice.
Well, it's funny you say that because that's exactly why I asked you. Because the exact same thing sort of took me out of it a little bit. Was like every time I heard it, I was like, I can't
yeah.
It's so hard to not take it seriously, but it's so hard to like it kind of takes me out of the moment a little bit hearing it.
A little bit, yeah.
And I was almost a little surprised to say. I thought I would just fully be on here being like, I don't really like how the Dutch language sounds for this song, and you'd be like, oh, what are you talking about? I thought you just like automatically be like, I'm wrong, it sounds nice, because that's usually how it goes whenever I insult anything.
Right. True. That's
but
true,
I'm glad
Jared.
that you understand where I'm coming from, at least, and,
100%.
and you had the same thought, because it does definitely. And here's the deal: she's a great singer. It has nothing to do with her singing abilities. It's just the accent and how the Dutch language sounds.
The pronunciation.
It's
the pronunciation.
Not the accent, the pronunciation. Just take me out of it at times a little bit.
Right. And this one's kind of slower. Apparently it's a breakup song. Got some really dramatic drums.
Don't forget me.
Yeah, exactly. But it's an interesting song, and I don't know if we've featured any songs in Dutch on the pod, have we? This might be our first Dutch one.
That's a bold statement, but you might be right. But that's a big statement. I mean, when Amaranthe was on, we probably had didn't she recommend a song?
I'm not sure. It's been a while.
Listen, you guys are. Once this turns off, we've forgotten everything we've said.
That's true. That's fair.
There are a lot of podcasts happening. We can't dwell on the past.
That is true.
I do though. So I've been thinking about my travels coming up recently, and I'm not dwelling on the past, but I am dwelling on the future. And I'm starting to think that Italy might not be in the cards for me in the coming months for my European trip. My boss keeps on talking to me like, doesn't look like Europe is going to be in the cards. I keep telling him to shut up. I'm going.
Right.
Don't take this away from me.
Right.
But I do know, if anything, so no Italian word or phrase today because I don't think I'm going there. But I do know I'm going to Paris because that's where my plane lands. And regardless of where else we go, we do plan on spending at least a day or two in Paris, at least on our way back, just to make our flight back easier. So I thought, let me think of some French phrases that might come in handy. And I thought of one.
Oh, perfect.
Recommanderez-vous un vin rouge, s'il vous plaît?
Could you recommend something, please?
A vin rouge.
Oh,
now you know what rouge means.
What red wine can you recommend?
There you go.
Okay. Nice.
Please recommend a red wine.
There we go. That's a solid one.
Figured that would come in handy.
I decided to do a little cop-out today, Jared, and I'm going to give a German word of the pod.
Hey,
it is
Chad.
A foreign. Yeah?
Listen, I understand that I need you... This is what I need you to do. I need you to figure out... Stop promising that you might have a word of the pod next episode based off of where you're going. Figure out when you're going or when you can tell us, then bring the word of the pod. Don't promise multiple times. Oh, whoa. Go ahead.
I have a German word today. I'm still going to bring foreign. Yeah.
Last episode you said that next episode you'd have.
I'm still waiting. I'm still playing the waiting game.
I'm saying, stop getting my hopes up.
Hopefully, your hopes and my hopes will be able to reveal the place in the language very soon. But for today's episode, I got a German word. Took the easy route. The word I chose today is bequem, which means what, Jared?
Comfortable.
Which I think is a big pro of online classes, is the fact that you can be comfy at your own home. Whether or not that's a productive place for you to work, that's for you to decide on your own. But I think online classes can offer a lot of flexibility and being comfortable.
That literally is my problem with not only online learning, but even on the rare occasions that I work from home. The problem is that I'm too comfortable, where it's like I need to focus, and it's hard when I'm in such a comfortable setting in my comfortable clothes without colleagues around me. I get too comfortable a lot of times.
Right.
And next thing you know, I'm pulling up Twitter, or I'm eating way more than I ever would if I were at work, or it's like you just find yourself. Next thing I know, I'm cleaning. I never clean
or taking
ever.
a nap. There's lots of things.
Dude. At my last job, I used to take a lot of naps when I was quote unquote working from home, and I felt. But I'll say that because what's interesting is what changed is when the Harry Potter studios came around, and when even when I just moved to that place, having a specific office changed that completely.
Oh, for sure.
So like when I moved to my newer place, that never happened because I had a specific room that I kind of called my quote unquote office, whether it was a bedroom that I didn't use or my Harry Potter closet at my old place.
Sure.
It's like, oh no, now I'm in this working place, so I just work here. There's nothing else to do here. That helps.
It makes a big difference.
Don't work in your bedroom.
Right. Absolutely. What are some other things to recap today's episode, Jared, about online classes or in-person classes that you can think of?
I'd say definitely, no matter whether you're learning online or in person, the way to get the best results is to actually be motivated and want it. We always say that, but I think it's worth mentioning.
True.
It's worth investing money into a program if you're serious about learning, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to do it online, learn at your own speed, which not only means slowing down, but I think more importantly for me, for example, with that German, being able to speed up and get past and get past the stuff that's not useful. And I don't know, stay hydrated.
Of course, that's always the number one key for sure, Jared. The last thing I would mention too is that if you're looking for more of that traditional classroom community, right now, at least in my experience, we can't really truly replace an in-person class. So if you're really looking forward to that, then maybe online classes aren't right for you. But I think it's definitely worth a try. You never know if you'll like it or not if you don't give it a try, and maybe you really love the flexibility, being able to do your homework and your lessons in your pajamas, if you got some comfy pajamas. So
I just
keep
got
that
a
in
robe
mind.
Recently. That could really change my
that's a game changer.
Online language learning
My
game.
awesome robe is still back in China.
No, you might get that back one day.
Probably not. But yeah. Anyways, keep that in mind for online versus in-person classes. And if you have more questions about online learning or online teaching, please let us know at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com.
You betcha.
We're happy to answer your questions. Get at us on Twitter, slide into the DMs, untranslatable1, the number 1. And there you can check out Jared's intellect, wit, and humor as well.
Yeah.
If you want to hear some amazing Dutch pop music, check out our Song of the Pod playlist on YouTube, Untranslatable Podcast. And lastly, please 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. Let us know how we can make this podcast better for you. So we thank you so much for your support. And as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, Děkujeme, muchas gracias, and shisha.